Welcome, viewers and listeners, to another edition of CHP Talks. We're here with a repeat guest on our show, Mr. John Graff from Saskatchewan. Welcome, John. Thanks for coming to our program today again.
Thank you.
And for those who may not have been on the last time that John spoke, I'm going to give him a little introduction. John has done many things in life. He's a husband to Teresa, father to 4 children, a Bible teacher, and a cowman, or a farmer, as he says. John was born and raised in Alberta in a Christian family. He described himself as a farmer and a Bible teacher. He's a nutritionist and a consultant covering animal health, agricultural production, and other aspects of nutrition. He's worked in the academic world as a college instructor, a consultant to farmers, corporations, and drug and vaccine companies, and in the policy world as a consultant and advisor to world leaders on food security, bioenergy, and ag production. He's also worked in business as a corporate executive. He currently operates a small farm in Saskatchewan, provides consultation to a handful of farmers. I think it's more than a handful, but anyway, he spends most of his time educating people and building leaders. He works with several groups focused on building disciples who make disciples through intensive Bible studies and training courses. John and his wife are active in their local community and church while they guide and train their kids into a closer relationship with Christ and a love for getting dirt and grease under their fingernails on the farm. And I've seen all that firsthand. My wife and I were privileged to spend a couple of visits with them overnight and be around their table. And it's a wonderful table to be around. And the interaction of the family in the home and on the farm is just great. John is a chairman of Living Streams Institute, Incorporated, a missional outreach and think tank in Saskatchewan. And one of the things they do, they contribute to a monthly newsletter called the Sask Freedom Flyer, SASK. Besides standing for Saskatchewan, it stands for spreading awareness and sharing knowledge. So, John, really thank you for joining us today on the program. And it was your November issue of the Living Streams Institute, well, the portion that was from Living Streams Institute in the Sask flyer that really got my attention. I wanted you to have a chance to open this new year with some practical information for people, because you are offering in your newsletter courses on off-grid energy, which you started already in November of 2022. You're going to teach people how to make a home space heater, biodiesel production, replace oxyacetylene with fuel made from water, solar power, and off-grid fuel for a home generator. So those are some big topics. And then on top of that, you've got all these things that your Living Streams will also be offering classes for homesteaders, preppers, and freedom fighters, covering such topics and skills as canning and preserves, aquaculture, poultry production, legal self-representation, bread baking, Christian worldview, gardening, beef and dairy production, cheese and yogurt, basic livestock nutrition, the Charter and the Bill of Rights, and more. So that's from Living Streams Institute at protonmail.com. Those who want to learn more, we'll mention that again later on. But John, I know you're a busy guy. You were a busy guy before COVID. You've been consulting and teaching animal nutrition and veterinary information farming stuff. You've been active on both sides of the U.S.-Canada border, and your family is very active. You have cattle, you have sheep, you have poultry, and I'm not sure what else you have going, grain farming. So how do you find time, first of all, to get involved with Living Streams and offer these courses to people who want to get better prepared for what may be coming our way in 2023?
Well, we are busy, but I don't know if we're any more busy than anybody else. We're very well organized, I guess. And there are lots of other people supporting and working with us in doing this, or we're helping them. You know, as a outreach and think tank and ministry organization, we are helping people connect with God, and we're as you remember, one of our strong points is discipling people into being disciple makers. And what you're probably seeing within this group, Living Streams, and out throughout other areas in the province and stuff, is those people who were disciples are now disciple makers, and they are in launching out, doing a lot of this work as well in different areas. This education component is one aspect to help give people both hope and training and skills, so that they can face what's coming. They can be overcomers, not be people who have to cave in and accept the narrative for what is being given to them. That they can have skills. They can push back. They have a founding and an understanding. Things have been taken away from us.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so important because, many of us have been troubled in the past couple of years with where things have gone, the COVID, government protocols and sense of maybe losing freedom. We don't know the inflation that has hit a country largely as a result of government response to COVID is a challenge, I think, for people on fixed incomes, and then many people have lost their source of income. So practical ideas, what people can do to be more self-sufficient and learn the skills, I just think it's tremendous. So you already began some of these courses in November, and I think you're going to be offering, you're going to continue to work with those. Were basically the energy-focused courses, creating a space heater, biodiesel production, replacing oxyacetylene with fuel made from water. These are pretty dynamic concepts. People that think that everything has to come from a store or some kind of a supply chain, and all those supply chains are threatened right now, but that we can actually do something for ourselves, use our own hands, our own ingenuity, what we have, what we can access to create better opportunities for our own energy production, et cetera. So how did those courses go, or what have you done so far, and what's happening next?
So we started in the end of November with the first one being the home heating, and you can use it in camping and stuff. Part of what we teach is the technical components of these ways to provide fuel and energy for yourself. We teach the technical. Then it's a hands-on, full day class with lots of support, but where the students actually construct, build, and understand the inner workings of one of these units. And then by the end of the day, we start it and operate it. And then they can go home and can expand from there. It was interesting, leading up to this, we also, as a group, we help other groups around the country set up and organize and get their events together. And we were at one meeting, and there was the people, the core directors of this other group, and we're sitting there meeting, we're talking about this and the opportunities, the things, and everyone is so afraid, of the supply chain breakdown or the cost of energy, the restrictions and the regulation, possibly rationing, all these potential things that are out there in the future, whether true or perceived, doesn't matter. They still have concern and worry over that. And what I was telling about some of these classes and what we could do as people to provide for ourselves and not have to turn to something else. And this one lady, she heard that we can make energy from water, or we can make our own fuels. And the tension, and she was kind of rigid, or kind of bothered, pursed lips all day. And all of a sudden she said, we can do that? We can do that? Mm-hmm. And the tension and stress just went out of her, and she looked across at her husband. Can you do that?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And the change was amazing. The hope came back into her, the stress went away, and now she was able to carry on and deal with what was in front of her that she can deal with. She doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And that spoke to me and said, this is important, that people know how to care for themselves, that they know that they do not have to be dependent upon a system. They depend upon one above. And that releases them. Now there's more to it than that, discipling and giving them something, a foundational belief inside, that we proceed with morals and things into our life, how we live. But this is one aspect where they can be released from their stress.
Yeah, well, as a society, I think as a people, over the years, we've become increasingly dependent. We've allowed ourselves to become increasingly dependent on someone else. Someone else teaches our children. Someone else, the doctors, the medical profession, they're the only ones that know what's good for our bodies. So we trust them with that. In finances, we've trusted the banks. In energy, we've trusted the big companies to provide, and we've trusted government for far too much, and they're going to run out of ground here because we've accepted this sleight of hand where they take from one pocket and give back with the other hand, and we think that we're getting something free from the government. Well, we're not. But I think people that are now saying, hey, it's my responsibility how my children are raised. It's my responsibility to look after my own health. It's my responsibility to ensure, that I have financial security. And so, but when it comes to things like energy production and food production, I mean, we all need, in the North, we need heat, at least, and most of us need transportation, either to get to work or to get around, and we certainly need food. So these are core, very practical ways that people can get involved in their own, providing for their own needs. I know when we stayed with you, your family, every one of your family is out there doing things with either the sheep or the chickens or the cattle or, the field work and so on. Your children are just a delight to be with. Your young people that are young adults, I should say, in your home that are just accomplishing so much. And I saw in this newsletter there was a reference to regenerative agriculture, and I know that's something that you're aware of, that whole concept. And this is just encouraging to me that there's people in Saskatchewan, in Alberta, and in Manitoba, and across the country that are looking for ways to make Canada a better place, and they're starting right in their own backyard.
Yeah. It's to what you were just saying. I think over time, we as a culture and a society, we've been given, there's a sleight of hand that's occurred where we've been told to rely on the community when what they and to be a part and serve within the community, when what they're actually telling us is to depend upon the collective. Right. And there's a difference between community and collective. In a community, it's made up of important individuals, where a collective is the group has more value than the individual. And what we've now seen, we've gone through almost 3 years of where the collective is more important than the individual, and you have nothing but tyranny that comes from that. Where what we are trying to do here is show that you have value before God, You are in the image of God. You have that value. You have the ability to act as an individual, a free agent before God and under him. But from that, individuals have value. They have the right to life. They have the right to the freedom and security of persons. They have all of these aspects of rights that then we're able to, and they come from God. It's not bestowed upon us by the collective. It comes upon us from God, and we can then come back into the community and serve others. And that's what makes a community as compared to a collective.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of these classes and stuff, we have all the practical aspects of being able to care for yourself, but we're touching on things of history and law and rights and scriptural views, Christian worldview, those types of things, which are the footing and foundation of a community, of a culture. We've lost that. You go out in the streets and ask people about culture and civics and stuff. They don't know these things. It's not taught anymore. There's just an agenda being given that leads people away from caring for each other.
Yeah. So of these many courses that you will be offering for homesteaders, preppers, and freedom fighters, poultry production is, I know that your family is well versed in that. Your wife, when we stayed over there, we left there with many dozens of eggs, which we distributed as we traveled. People were happy to get good Saskatchewan eggs, but where would you go with it? Here's a cheese and yogurt. So maybe people who don't know that you can make your own cheese, you can make your own yogurt.
Yeah.
So do you have teachers lined up for all these? Is it it's others than besides your family that are putting on these?
Oh yeah. I as a past college instructor and stuff, so there are certain classes that I'll be instructing on, but we have other people who are experts in fermentation, baking, gardening, all the animal things, different classes with people for them. It's amazing when you start looking at a community and really start interacting with people on an individual basis. You start to find that there are people all around us who have interests and hobbies that they have become experts in.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just passerbys in these topics. They are experts. They spend hours and hours and hours every week researching and perfecting. We just have to have a system where we can bring those people and let them pass on their understandings, their expertises. And,
I know there's been local courses here in northern BC where I am on cheese making, and our granddaughter's been involved with that, and she's made some lovely cheeses. And and she and her husband operate a dairy farm as well. So that's very exciting that some of this knowledge is being shared out. The idea of making any kind of cheese is already. My wife has made some cheese when we had goats earlier in our marriage together, our time together. But these people are making specific cheeses. That if you have the right bacteria, you can make the type of cheese you want to make. Wow, that's really advanced. We don't have to rely on a big company to make that particular type of cheese. No, you can make it in your own kitchen. If you have to keep your equipment clean and all that stuff so that you don't get the wrong bacteria in there.
Right. Yeah.
Is there one of those courses that you want to expand on a little bit? I know you have beef. You've had cattle a lot. Will you be involved in that course?
Yeah, I'll probably teach that course, I would expect. That's core to some of the consulting and stuff that we do with other beef producers across the country. Um, but yeah, a lot of these things, as people look at transitions in their lives, say something like poultry is something where someone who is leaving or not able to work in the workforce any longer for whatever reason it might be, um, that is daunting and scary to look at. And our questions with ESG and all these things coming forward, can we even re-enter the workforce in a different capacity somewhere else? Um, what are the implications of that? But people have this ability to be independent and and you know uh, take on a project like poultry production and then be able to support themselves and even sell other products into the neighborhood, and that produces a fairly good income. A lot of these homesteader type projects are able to produce with proper, with family size scale, could produce, equivalent to some of the professions, into the doctor range if
Yeah.
it's rolled out properly.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic. Um, maybe just first of all, I want to repeat for those who may missed it at the beginning. Living Streams Institute at protonmail.com is where you can connect with John and maybe find out about these courses, when they're going to be offered, and which ones that you're interested in. Get on the mailing list for Living Streams Institute. So it's Living Streams Institute at protonmail.com. What else would you like people to know about these courses, or about 2023? What do you see coming in 2023 that our listeners should be aware of? I know there's lots of thoughts out there, lots of concerns. A lot of our justice and freedom issues have not yet been settled, but in court, and some of the court cases have, even been disappointing in terms of, it feels like the odds are stacked. The media is kind of stacked against people like us who want to make the country a better place by being free individuals and making our own decisions. But yeah, give us a little thoughts about what's coming. What do you see coming in 2023?
Well, I think we probably see a lot of the same things. We agree on most everything. The the upcoming issues with currency, digital currency, is probably some of my concerns that I see. Being able to control people more than the past COVID things, and over the last 3 years, that was just a precursor and a trial run. Now, when you can control people's money, where they buy, how long their money is good for, all those type of things, that is probably, to me, the biggest concern. And that going to roll out in 2023? It's possible. 2023, 2024, it's quite possible, and I see no pushback from any of the main political parties. I see very, very little and limited understanding in the people about this, even on both sides of the freedom question or the freedom lines. And I think that it's something that we need to be looking at seriously, and be understanding that this is not, government has the ability to put regulation and control some of this or let it be free. But what they've been doing is capitulating over to another outside non-governmental groups who will actually control our currency, our banking systems. And with the implementation of ESG, this isn't just e-transfers and online banking that we're talking about. This is where they grade your environmental, your social, and your government policy stance on everything, and just like the Chinese social credit score, then restrict and reward based upon where you fall. And most of the time our viewpoint as Christians is going to fall outside of the acceptable parameters that these elite banker types, if you want to call it that, are what they view as good and important. And so they can control your money, they can control you, and for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty troubling how quickly and easily governments seem to be sliding into, world governments seem to be agreeing and shaking hands on these kind of deals that citizens of Canada have not had a lot of opportunity to weigh in on. We're used to currency, either digital, in terms of online banking, or a hard cash that we take from one hand and put into another hand to purchase goods. And so it is concerning when we see challenges to that, and we saw how that was abused last year with the convoy.
Yeah, the issues we see in the justice system is also concerning, but that's nothing new. It's just being put in our face right now.
Yeah.
I do think we as people need to do more to push back against that and push back against darkness.
Yeah, very good. For folks who would like to contact John Graff in Saskatchewan, Living Streams Institute at protonmail.com. John is the chairman of Living Streams. And if you're interested in these courses, I think they're fascinating, and I wish I were closer and had more time to get involved in a couple of these, especially these energy courses that you're offering. But we wish you great success. I'm sure that will be a fun learning experience for anyone who participates. And people may want to try to get on this newsletter as well. That's Saskatchewan SASK newsletter, the Sask Freedom Flyer. And that is that Sask Freedom Flyer at proton.me.
Yeah, that's it. The flyer, the Freedom Flyer, comes out from numerous groups across the region, and we all work together on that.
Yeah. Well, I like your talking about the difference between community and collective. Collective is kind of a term we associate with the Soviet Union and their failed attempt to force people into a mold and to participate in government-run farming, whereas community is something that goes from the grassroots up. And I don't think there's a more of a grassroots place in Canada than Saskatchewan. There's a lot of very independent-minded people there who have survived. Families have survived there through tough times, and are, I think, everyone who lives in Saskatchewan is intending to continue to survive and make a way to pass things on to the next generation. So both, whether it's material or freedom. So thank you, John. God bless you and your family. I hope you have a great 2023, and we look forward to hearing more from Living Streams Institute and your activities out there.
Thank you. Yeah, hope good 2023 for you as well, and everybody out there.
All right. God bless you. Take care.
Bye.